You don't own this lake." That woman's voice hit me harder than the October wind, and let me tell you, nothing wakes you up faster than standing on the edge of your own property, deed in hand, surrounded by a fleet of police cruisers and half the neighborhood screaming at you like you're some villain straight out of a reality show. All I wanted was some peace after the hell of my divorce, just a place to breathe, maybe write something that made sense out of the last year of my life. But there I was, 3 days into owning Old Mill Lake, $480,000 in all legal, all above board, getting called a criminal by the HOA president in front of what looked like the entire Meadowbrook community. You ever have your phone blow up in your pocket with alerts you just know are going to ruin your day? Yeah, by the time I checked it, someone had already posted a video of me menacing people, 890 shares, me being called a monster, a thief, you name it. If you've ever been accused of something you didn't do, you'll understand. The day before, I'd driven my tired Honda Civic down that gravel road with nothing on my mind but finally being home. That air was so crisp, the maples were turning bright orange, and for a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, things were going to work out. I'd even brought a little wooden sign I painted myself, private property, in Cooper, just to mark a new start. 18 hours apiece. That's all I got. 7 in the morning, I woke up to bass so loud I thought I was dreaming. Open my tent, and what do I see? Blue t-shirts everywhere, folding tables, kids running wild, some guy grilling breakfast sausages like he was hosting the 4th of July. I stumbled out, jeans, hoodie, bedhead, thinking, all right, I just need to talk to somebody. "Excuse me," I called out, raising my voice over the music. "This is private property." And the man just smiled, offered me food. You'd think I was the intruder. I tried again, louder, flashing the deed on my phone like a badge. "I own this lake. You're trespassing." But the whole crowd just kept setting up, kids hauling a bounce house to the shore, parents unloading coolers, teenagers laughing in my face. And then I spotted my sign crushed, trampled, some kid holding a crowbar over it. "Who put this here?" he sneered. "The lake belongs to the community, man." I tried to show them my deed. "Fake news, bro." That's what he said. They threw my sign in the mud, stomped it, told me to call the cops if I had a problem. By 9, I'm in my car, hands shaking, scrolling through hundreds of notifications. Someone named Jennifer Brooks posted, "Wealthy outsider terrorizes community, tries to steal our lake." And underneath edited video, me cut to sound like I'm threatening families. "I own this property, and I'll take legal action too. I'll take action." Ominous, right? The post got shared nearly 9,000 times in 12 hours. The comments were a wall of pure rage. "Another rich jerk stealing from working families. Boycott him. Someone teach him a lesson." Local news was reaching out to the HOA, and somehow I was the cartoon villain. It got worse. Sirens blaring at 10:34, sheriff's cruisers come flying down the road. Deputy Mitchell stepped out, hand on his weapon. "Nathan Cooper?" he asked. And when I stepped up, hands open, he said, "We've had reports of you threatening residents, blocking access, assaulting a minor." I just laughed, because what else do you do? I haven't threatened anyone. I bought this land legally. He asked for my paperwork. I handed it over, fingers trembling. He took his time, then nodded slowly. "This appears to be legitimate, but there are other legal considerations." That's when the Mercedes pulled up, a pristine white sedan, driver's door popping open like some movie scene, and out steps Scarlett Lancaster, HOA president, looking like she belonged on a magazine cover. Behind her, SUVs and minivans unload an army and matching t-shirt signs saying "Save Our Lake." There was even a photographer. This wasn't some spontaneous gathering. This was a performance. Scarlett strolled up, gave Mitchell a nod, and pulled a leather portfolio out like a stage magician. "Deputy, here's the documentation you'll need. This is a prescriptive easement for our community's use of the lake, 15 years of continuous, uninterrupted access." Mitchell read it, and you could see his face change as he processed the legalese. This does appear to establish a valid easement, he finally said. I couldn't believe it. But I bought the property. I have the deed, I stammered. Scarlett smiled a cold, perfect smile. A deed doesn't erase existing easements. Our community has rights going back to 2009. She explained prescriptive easements like, I was a child. 15 years is more than enough under state law. Mitchell nodded. You'll need an attorney, Mr. Cooper. For now, avoid any confrontation. And just like that, it felt like my world shrank down to the size of that slip of paper in my hand. But I looked again at my deed. Bottom corner faded stamp, an old gear wheel, the kind you see on ancient mill equipment, and tiny print title chain incomplete, 1847, subject to prior claims and easements. I felt cold. Something was off about this whole deal. 1847, I murmured. Scarlett's smile flickered just for a second, and in her eyes I caught a flash of something that looked like was that worry. I went home, made coffee, and did what I do best, dug into research. Old Mill Lake history, 1847. That led me to the Whitmore family mill, a prosperous grain business that mysteriously lost the lake in 1951. Lost it in a court fight, claimed documents were forged, but the family never got their land back. Now, why would that name ring bells with Scarlett? And why did her face change when I mentioned 1847? I called the Historical Society, got directed to Mrs. Hayes, a sweet older lady who seemed more excited about local history than anyone I'd ever met. She brought me a box of clippings and documents. Turns out the Whitmores didn't just lose their land, they'd been accused of back taxes, but the signatures were forged, paperwork backdated, the whole thing a mess of fraud. Incredibly, a judge ruled in their favor. Then the appeal vanished, no record, no resolution. Mrs. Hayes mentioned a living Whitmore Herald 79 still in town. I called him, and despite his frailty, those eyes were sharp. When I explained the situation, he stiffened. That lake was stolen from us, he said. And he wasn't just talking about lost money. He brought out an envelope with a page from the original property transfer. An official investigation report, clear as day, signatures, forged documents, backdated, and a name Edward Lancaster Sr. had bribed a county clerk to rush the seizure. Scarlett Lancaster's great-grandfather. Suddenly it all made sense. Scarlett wasn't just defending her HOA. She was covering up a 70-year-old crime, and she'd kept the whole community blind to it. I took Harold's documents straight to my attorney, Helen Bennett, a real estate lawyer with 30 years under her belt, and the demeanor of someone who'd seen every dirty trick in the book. When she read the evidence, her eyes lit up. Mr. Cooper, this is fraud, major fraud. Scarlett's prescriptive easement means nothing if her family's ownership was based on forgery. We're going to challenge everything in court, file a complaint with the district attorney and the FBI. And right as hope flickered back to life, the sheriff showed up at my apartment. New accusations, threatening phone calls, trespassing. They had a fake recording spliced together to sound like me and a board member swearing she saw me by the lake at 8 p.m. I told them to check my alibi visiting Harold phone records neighbors. They said they'd investigate, but their tone was clear: give up and go quietly. Helen wasn't fazed. It's classic intimidation, manufacturing evidence, manipulating the narrative. But it actually helps our case. Only guilty people go this far. She filed for a restraining order, and by 4 that afternoon we were in front of Judge Miller. Scarlett and her attorney argued their 15 years of community use, while Helen calmly explained the fraud, handed over Harold's document, and waited. Judge Miller granted the order. The HOA was barred from using the property pending a full hearing. But then Scarlett whispered to her lawyer, panicked about something called the LLC. Helen caught it too. Scarlett's deeper in this than we thought, she said. We started digging. Turns out the Lancaster family transferred the property through shell companies for decades, eventually washing the title through Meadowbrook Holdings LLC, owned by Scarlett. When the taxes went unpaid in 2021, the county seized it, and I unknowingly bought a property wrapped in a criminal legacy. Harold had more tapes clippings, even a hidden interview with the original county clerk. It was a mountain of corroboration. We authenticated the documents, hired a PI, and found emails showing Scarlett herself laid out the plan to use community access as cover to clean up the title and keep the fraud buried. She even confessed in writing. We set up a sting. Harold invited Scarlett over wired for sound with deputies waiting nearby. She showed up, tried to buy his silence with $75,000, then threatened him when he hesitated. "Accidents happen, Mr. Whitmore. Don't make my family your enemy." The words were chilling, but everyone recorded, everyone damning. Deputies swarmed and arrested Scarlett for witness tampering, fraud, conspiracy, the whole 9 yards. For the first time, her mask cracked. As they led her away, she screamed about betrayal and power, her world collapsing as fast as mine had days before. That night, Helen and I drafted a legal notice for the HOA. I was the legal owner. Scarlett was under federal investigation and trespassing would be prosecuted. Within hours, the community went into meltdown, shock, apology, horror at what they'd believed. The HOA voted Scarlett out, installed a new president, and issued a public apology. People who'd wanted to run me out of town were now calling me a hero for exposing decades of corruption. The State Parks Department offered to buy the lake for a public park. I had 3 options: sell for profit, sign a license for controlled community use, or sell at a discount to dedicate the land as a memorial. I chose the third, Whitmore Cooper Memorial Lake Park, with a plaque telling the true story for generations. Scarlett lost everything: her money, her marriage, her reputation. The FBI found evidence of similar schemes in other towns, and her family's grip on local politics was shattered. On dedication day, Harold stood by the plaque, tears in his eyes, reading the story he'd waited a lifetime to see told. My own speech was simple. Sometimes the right thing is the hard thing, and if we don't do it, who will? The community at last understood. That's the thing about justice. It doesn't always show up on schedule. Sometimes it takes 73 years and one stubborn old man with a box of secrets. Sometimes it takes an outsider willing to ask the question everyone else was afraid to say out loud. Where's the truth? So what do you think? Would you have kept digging? Would you have walked away? Tell me, does justice look like a crowd cheering, or like a quiet morning when the lake is finally at peace? Drop your thoughts below. Share your own story. If you've ever had to fight for what's right, and let's remind each other, truth always wins when good people refuse to stay silent.